how to write a best-selling book, and should you choose self-publishing or a publisher. As promised, guys, I'm gonna share everything I know about writing a best-selling book, why I choose for my first book a publisher, and why for this second book that's coming out this year I'm gonna self-publish. And of course gonna answer the questions you have dropped in the post to make sure everybody got their answer. So before we're gonna dive in, I've actually decided to give it our masterclass a certain structure, and that is like everything I know about before you write a book, everything I know about like the writing, like what you should do during the writing process and what you should do after the writing process. I am fully aware that this is not like a structure you should follow, you have to follow. Many people choose a complete different structure. This is just what I want to share with you in those categories. And then obviously at the end, we're coming to the advantages and disadvantages of using a publisher versus self-publishing. So if you're anything like me, when I was on this journey, I didn't know anything about writing a book, how to write a book. I was very naive. I was very arrogant. I'm like, I'm just gonna sit down and type and then I have a book. So this is actually what I've done in the beginning. And I thought, cool, this is gonna be great, right? Maybe some of you can resonate with it, that we overestimate our skill set when we've never done the task. Maybe you're anything like me. I am excellent at that. So also in the beginning I thought, I mean, it's just writing a book, right? Like how hard can it be? You just sit down. This was all pre-ChatGPT, right? Like how hard can it be? You just type it and your book is ready. So I've done this. Then I read over my book because I was working with a publisher and I'm like, this actually is not really good. So I wish I would have done this before, and this is what I highly recommend everybody that is writing a book and you've never written a book and you don't know anything about this whole process, and that is you get yourself a coach, a mentor that teaches you how to write a best-selling book. Not just a book, right? My goal back then was always, I want to have, back then I was only teaching in German, so I wanted to have a German New York Times bestseller. So I realized I don't know anything about this. I thought I know how to write a book. I didn't. And for sure, I didn't know how to write a best-selling book. So what program I took was actually by Gabby Bernstein, the Best-Selling Masterclass. I just checked before this live, it's still available. It is a program I 100% recommend. It was great. Obviously, I don't even know how many like best-selling, New York Times best-selling books Gabby Bernstein has published. 5, 10, 50, I don't know, a lot. This woman knows how to write, just knows so much about writing best-selling books. And trust me, when I took her program, I realized I didn't know anything about writing a best-selling book, and I was so happy I've done this because it really helped me to create a book outline for a best-selling book, right? Anybody can write a book. It most likely is gonna suck, but not everybody is able to write a best-selling book. So the first step is get yourself a mentor. In this case, I highly recommend Gabby's program. I'm not affiliated with her. The program helped me a lot. Even for my second book, I came back to her program and watched it and done it again. And I'm like, it's so good. So I highly recommend her program. And what really helped me was creating an outline in the before stage, right? Like, why do I want to write a book? What is the purpose for the audience? Not like, what's my purpose of like, want to heal myself, gonna write, make sure my message is out there. No, it's like, what's the message? What's a goal? What's a transformation I'm providing for my reader? What is the one message I want you to know at the end of the book? And in your outline, basically, you make sure that every chapter nurtures that. It's another puzzle piece of that. So just remember, you gotta have a title, you gotta have a purpose of the book. The purpose should not be your self-healing story. It's the same when we write social media content, right? If we desire that other people purchase our books, then wouldn't it make sense that the book is written for your audience and not for yourself? If this already resonates with you, I, like, from the bottom of my heart, get yourself this Gary Bernstein program. It's lifetime access. She shares so much about this, also how to choose a title, how to choose a subtitle. Always coming from this place, we don't just want to write a book, we want to write a best-selling book. And really the wisdom she shares in there is gold. I'm only a person that has written one best-selling book. This woman has so much more to share and wisdom and knowledge than I do. So this is just before writing. The other thing that really helped me before I actually started writing is, back then I had the strong impulse, it's time to write and publish this book now. So what I've done was literally I gave myself 2 weeks, 14 days, and every single day I wrote a chapter. There were sometimes a day where I felt like, okay, today I truly desire a break, and I took a break. But literally within 10 days, my book was completely written by myself, every single word typed. So maybe you have a writing schedule where you feel like, okay, I want to write every single day a chapter. Right now, for my second book, I take it very easy and I write one chapter every Saturday. Whatever works for you, but I would at least get one chapter done every single week, so you see progress. Because even now, comparing to before, I was like so in my book, I knew exactly what I wrote, I knew exactly how things are going, versus now I'm like, I have to reread what I wrote the week before, so it's already different. Gotta sit different. So of course I am perfectly prepared for this Instagram live. As you can tell, no window, no perfect position, because I forgot to charge my phone and it was at 10%. I'm like, wonderful. This is how we're doing Instagram lives at Rich and Happy with an empty battery. So the next step I want to talk about, like the during process, like while you are writing. And this is very important. I wish these were the things I knew before. And obviously what I'm sharing right now is based on my own personal experience, and it can be different for you. But in general, when you self-publish, the crazy, wild benefit is you just can write what the F you want to write. It doesn't matter if somebody likes it, it doesn't matter if it's an F word or not, it doesn't matter if you're talking about sexuality, if you're talking about money, whatever, you just can write whatever you want. And that is really wild, because I thought it's always going to be like this. So my first book, first time we reached out to a publisher, they were like, we love the concept of the book. However, it's some chapters like, Mirage, she's talking about drugs and she's talking about sexuality, and like, nah, society is not ready to face that yet. No, we cannot publish this. So we would love to take on her book, but basically half of the book has to be removed and other chapters have to be added. And I'm like, but then it's not my book anymore. So literally we talked back then to 5 publishing houses, and they all said the same. So the moment you have something that is maybe a little provocative, Back then, I talked a lot about sexuality, porn, drugs, how we numb ourselves not to feel. And everybody numbs themselves through different drugs, right? Like the drugs. But then also like pornography, sex, there's like so much I talked about, sugar and other drugs. So a publisher, most likely, think about it. It's a company that has books that are coming out in a certain category. So when you go with a publisher, you have to make sure that you fit in their category. Very often, and this may be completely different when you're talking to publishing houses in the US. This is just my experience in Europe. They restricted me in how I can write, what I should write, and what I shouldn't. Coming back to later, this was the greatest gift they could have done. But that's another story I'm going to share in a little bit. So just something to contemplate before you write. That when you work with a publisher, I would get very crystal clear with which publisher you want to work. What are they standing for? What is like their writing style? What kind of books are fitting in this category? And you try to be as close as possible to that. It's definitely for me a disadvantage till today that when you work with a publisher, you always sell a little part of your soul. So this is just what I wanted to share with you during the writing process to get clear about it. Next one, what to do after you've wrote your book. And now we're going into the self-publishing path and the publishing path. So back in the day, I had a very strong and loud ego, and that was, of course, I'm writing a book, and of course it's becoming a German New York Times bestseller. It was more about the title that mattered to me, and it had to be a publisher, because back then I thought, oh my gosh, people are gonna believe that no publisher, I couldn't find a publisher, and that's why I would self-publish. This was my belief set. This is how I started this whole journey, and that's why I chose a publisher. It was really coming from an ego perspective. I didn't care about anything else except I wanted to have a book that gets on the best-selling book list. This was extremely important to me. Little would I know that I couldn't care less about this. It's a whole different story. And when you go with a publisher, the amount of money you receive is very little, depending on how big your audience is, right? Because still, many of you think if I have a publisher, they will help me to get the book on the best-selling list. Maybe they have some PR, like where they send some PR messages, but it's not that you think like, oh my gosh, they're gonna create a miracle for you. A publisher also only pays you a lot of money the bigger your audience is. The bigger your active audience is, the more you can kind of prove beforehand that if they decide to publish with you, then at least you will sell 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, 500,000 books. Obviously, right, one way to prove that you can reach those kind of people and could sell this amount of books is through your following. So if you still have a very small following, and back then we had about 10,000 people in total. Through all platforms, we had 10,000 people. With that, it's like really the low minimum you should bring to a publisher, and that was in Europe. So I'm pretty sure in the US, I could imagine it's even a bigger audience and an active audience. It's not just you can purchase fake followers. They check an active audience, right? Because in the end, it's about the sales that are going to happen. But in order to prove that sales could happen through you, they choose an audience. I think that makes sense. The other aspect about a publisher is, like I shared, you receive a very small commission. Usually it's something between 10 and 25%. If you are on the higher end, 25%, 20%. So think about it. If you have a book for $20, right, 20%, you can see how you should have to sell a lot of books in order to make at least a little bit of money. Do not write a book. Do not have the goal to have a best-selling book for the money. It will not make you rich. Literally, it's not going to make you rich. It's nothing financially rewarding about it. The other aspect is the publisher always owns the rights on your book. So for instance, if you are anything like me, you would write your first book in German and then you would think, hey, now I've changed, I've moved, I'm not living in Germany, I'm not speaking German anymore, my business operates completely in English with a global audience. Wouldn't it be cool to translate the book? So if your publisher is not, if it's a local publisher, aka German publisher, they will not just translate the book. And that would mean I would have to find another publisher in the US, and then my German publisher would sell them the rights. So the commission of the commission gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It doesn't make any sense. So this is just a little bit of the advantages and disadvantages. Basically, for me, in the decision of self-publishing versus a publisher, if I would be in your shoes, I would ask myself, what is more important to me right now? Is it to have the opportunity to be in the like New York Times bestseller list? Or is the financial rewards and owning my own work more important to me? Like I said in the beginning, that was the polar opposite. It was more important to me to be in the best-selling list versus why I choose self-publishing now. It is more important to me to own my work. So when I feel like doing an audiobook, I just can do it. If I feel like, I don't know, creating a calendar around my next book, I just can do it. If I feel like translating my book, I can do it. And that meaning, okay, it only has the possibility to become an Amazon bestseller and most likely not on the New York Times bestselling list. That is completely okay for me. Also, what matters more to me, if I sell a book for $20, this is $20 going into my bank account and not only anything between 10 and 20%. More important to me. More flexibility to me. I also want to be able to choose my cover. I want to create the design of my cover and my book. And again, this is a pro-con thing, right? Because when you work with a publisher, they do all the editing for you, which I think is beautiful. So now when we self-publish, we have to take care of all of that. And again, I am not just trying this, I've done this in the past. It has never worked out for me with anything. I am also going to work with a coach who had multiple best-selling books, and I'm learning from her. I highly recommend anybody, no matter if you go on the self-publishing path or the publishing path, just to write the book by yourself without taking any kind of program from people that have been through this process. Because most likely what will happen is that you have to rewrite the book completely, because you haven't followed the invisible rules of a publishing path. also, once you're done, and this obviously is also a process or a step you could do during the writing process, depending on if you're a person that loves to multitask or not. I'm not, so I've done it afterwards. For my first book was, if you work with an agent, right, a book agent, then you have to write a proposal for the book, and the agent is going to place that proposal at different publishing houses. If you have a smaller audience, it is something I highly, highly, highly can recommend you to do. Again, why? Because you don't know anything, most likely, if you're not having any kind of literature background, right? You don't know anything about how to write a best-selling book, how to promote a best-selling book, the contracts, the laws, like nothing. So an agent is also a powerful tool, a powerful person to help you negotiate, ideally a little bit of a better deal if you decide to go with a publishing house. So in a nutshell, for me, publishing path. Financially, most likely, unless you're anyone like J.K. Rowling League, right? Most likely you're going to be financially scammed. The financial rewards are going to be so little, and depending on the contract. So I just can give you some timelines, right? I've handed in my book to my publisher, and that was in like February or April. I think now at 25, I think it was like 21 or 22. So handed in the final proposal, right? Final work by myself. That was, let's say, in April. The book got published in August, right? The moment the publishing house, that was like as of May, once the title, everything was done, started selling the book already and making money. Right? The book launch happens. The book is a best-selling book in Germany, wins multiple awards, has a lot of PR and publicity, sells a lot, like over 15,000 copies within the first week. So you would think, yay, so cool, right? I still haven't seen a dime, because the publishing house only pays out twice a year. Twice a year, something in like December and like June, and then always like from the last 6 months before that. So it almost, to make it short, it almost took me like 1.5 years to receive the very first salary from, or sales or money from the book, after I've handed in the draft. And this is just something where I'm like, wow, I thought it wouldn't matter. I thought it's just about having a best-selling book and have the sticker. And I've realized once I've experienced that over and over again, I was just frustrated. I was very frustrated. And this is a main reason for me, for the second book and for all other books coming. I personally, I mean, I don't want to say never ever, but it's very unlikely that I will go back to a publishing house and write and distribute a book through them. It's more important to me to fully own my work. It's more important to me that I want to write, especially the content I desire to write, the lessons I desire to share. I want to write in a way I am writing that I just feel, yep, this is me. It is also more important to me to fully earn the commission of my book. And I'm okay with learning self-publishing. This is what I wanted to share about publishing, self-publishing a book in a nutshell. it is most important for you, no matter if you self-publish. First step, we said, let's do it like this. First step, definitely learn how to write a best-selling book. Do not be so naive that you think, I'm just gonna type, it's a best-selling book. It is very unlikely. It is literally a skill you have to learn. Like I shared in the beginning, I highly recommend you guys the Best-Selling Masterclass by Gabby Bernstein to learn how to write a best-selling book. Like I said, I don't know how many best-selling books Gabby wrote, but she's out there, right, on a worldwide, global level. This masterclass was so good. It's lifetime access. I'm not affiliated with her. I just repeated the masterclass again for my second book I'm writing right now. And I think it creates, she just shares so much wisdom. Highly recommend it to you. Also, she has a little bit of knowledge about working with an agent, self-publishing versus a publisher. And again, like I shared here, it's just more important for you to understand what is more important to me. Is it being like a New York Times bestselling author and having the possibility, go through a publishing house? If you couldn't care less about it and it's like, I just want the full financial rewards from the book, go for self-publishing. And be aware that either path you take, you still have to do the whole work, right? Most likely. You still have to write the book. It's the same for both paths, right? When you have a publisher, you don't have to do the editing. When you self-publish, you do. Obviously, there are companies, right, that do all of that for you, but you have to pay them. Versus when you have a publisher, you don't have to pay. At least in my case, I didn't have to. The other aspect is now the book is out there. You still have to market. You still have to have an audience and you still have to be able to market to your audience, no matter if it's through a publishing house or self-publish. Because think about it, this is something people often think, hey, I think I don't have to do this when I have a publisher, but it is not true. Because think about it, how often have you heard anything from take any publisher like Random House, like, oh, these are our, or Hay House, these are our newest books, you should get them. It's like, in normal everyday life, I'm never confronted with the newest books that are out there. And if you see a book or a book gets your attention, wouldn't you agree it is because it's already in the best-selling books? And then you see the shelves, right? Best-selling book number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the publisher still doesn't help you to get into those best-selling lists. You still have to do that. And this is something where I just wish I knew before. Let me quickly check my list of everything I wrote down. If I've answered everybody's questions. And also what I've shared in the beginning, if you tuned in a little bit later, was really, even for self-publishing, just get a mentor. Get some kind of program, class by people that have book programs. I've just overestimated my skill set so much. It's all I can say. I was so arrogant and so full when I started this process. Yeah. If you have any question about writing a book, if you should choose a publisher, if you should choose self-publishing, anything in between, you can put it in the comments. I'm gonna see if there's a question popping up. One thing I haven't answered, if you have questions, put it in the comments function, one question I haven't answered here was how to choose a book cover. And again, I just can share from my perspective. Back then, I was having quarterly photo shoots with my photographer, and we were shooting the book cover when I didn't even knew I was going to write a book. It was more, we were shooting in Zurich in Switzerland. I had this really beautiful Dior dress, super fancy. And I just thought, I'm like, let's do this. And I had pink nails. I'm like, I just want to do this in a Dior dress, like smile and say like, everybody F you. And when I saw the photos, I'm like, Stephanie, I think this is going to be a book cover. I just want this as my book cover. I didn't know anything about like, I'm actually going to write a book, nothing. I just liked the photo. And that literally, I think, happened like 18 months before I actually decided to write a book and everything was finalized. I had the cover before. So I can't actually tell you what's the best way to shoot a book cover. I don't operate like this. I follow the flow, I follow the intuition. I just know I'm always guided and everything always will be used and is needed. Let's say it like this. Right now I'm in Georgia, the country, not the States, and many people speak Russian here. And I am 37. And back when I was in school from like 9, 10, something like this, 10 to 18, I learned Russian in high school. And back then I hated it. I thought, how useless, I'm never going to use this language. I always wondered my whole life, why the heck did I actually learn Russian in high school? This was really one of the biggest wastes and skills. I even thought this language was so useless that I've had to learn it for such a long time. And now fast forward, basically over 30-35 years, it comes handy. And I'm like, wow, universe, it's really true. The creator, God, however you name it, never forgets anything. Everything is always needed. We don't know when or how or in what way. I just want you to trust. I want you to trust your heart. I want you to trust your intuition, your guidance. I want you to act on it. And if your impulse right now is really, I want to have this book with a publisher, I want you to go on that path to follow it. If right now you feel like, I just want to have this book out there and I don't care so much about a publisher, then you're going for self-publishing. Either way, it's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be a lot of work. And it's always going to work out for you, either way. And I think this is most important for you. And if you just take one thing away from this life, it is what's more important for me right now. To have the opportunity, the potential to be a best-selling author, like a New York Times best-selling author, or to have the full financial rewards of my book. And this answer is going to be so different and so unique for all of us. And that's beautiful. There's no right or wrong. I love you. I love all of you. If you still have any questions about writing a book and what's important to you, just after this live, drop it in the comments. I'm going to answer in the next couple of days. I love you all. So grateful you're here. I wish you nothing but the best for your book. And of course, if you've already written a book, either way with a publisher or in self-publish, also comment below. Let's see how many beautiful books already have been created in this community. And I talk to you soon.